Akolade Coker, and I'm here to tell stories that matter. Here are Marisa Clancy and Mary Kershisnik, two people that I love very dearly, and today I want to respond to a comment that I got because my video was about love, and I was talking about happiness, and I wanted to make a video about happiness, but the quote from Des was, "I think that we have similar beliefs about love and what love entails. I think I got a little foggy in the areas of thriving. I understand what you're saying about thriving, but I feel that aiming to thrive is placing expectation for success, happiness, fulfillment, whereas I'd love to see my loved ones feel contentment. Contentment, in my opinion, is what I believe is the mental thriving. I think I'm rambling now anyway. I love the discussion, smiley face. And Des, I actually think that we're very much on a similar page. I think that while we may be using different verbiage to describe what's going on, I think that when a person is thriving, they are content with their circumstances in a way where it's like, my circumstances are what I want. I think when you're living, you are okay with your circumstances. I think when you are surviving, you are actively fighting your circumstances versus, like when you just are at your wit's end and you're like, I can't take this anymore, and you're being defeated by your circumstances, right? So it's like from being beaten down by your circumstances to fighting your circumstances to living with your circumstances to loving your circumstances. I think that's what it means for me to thrive. I'm not saying that people should have an external locus of control of their happiness or fulfillment or success or anything like that. I'm saying that I think that happiness is the place where you are pleased with your circumstances. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna maybe accidentally derail this, but I think if you're fully content with your circumstances, you're not thriving. I don't know if you remember this. We were talking to somebody about like how would you set up a paradise, and it was like, if I had to do this for my kids, they'd have everything they need and be far enough apart that they couldn't hurt each other. And I think about that all the time because that sounds like a horrible way to live, but technically that would meet that criteria.
Hold on, can I just pause you real quick? Tristan, we love you, and this time you're getting the actual shout out. Tristan, okay.
But I think you need something more than just contentness, because I think part of thriving is striving in like a positive way.
Okay.
Working towards something better.
Yeah.
I just think that thriving really has to do with what you think thriving is for you, and that could be contentment, that could be challenge, that could be like a whole host of things. But seeing it as like an external success, being thriving, is somebody else's definition of what thriving is and not your own.
Yeah. I think that, this is very much for me. I think that happiness is a thing that comes with a locus of control, like many other things, right? So like, for example, I think so many definitions that we have in life come with a locus of control. So like love, some people are like, love is a feeling and I can't choose who I love. And I'm like, if you believe that about love, then for you, love is an emotional thing primarily. And I can't tell you that you're wrong about what love is, but if your love is primarily this emotion you feel of like elation or, like ecstasy or whatever it is that you get out of experiencing another individual, then like, sure, the locus of control of your ability to love and enjoy other people is a thing that is an externality. But if you are like me and you believe that love is a choice that you make, right, to act with love and to experience love, right?
Also understand why you love.
Yeah.
What you love.
Yeah, to have an understanding of love and why and what, instead of being like, love is a feeling and I don't understand feelings, so love is just a thing that happens to me. Like, then it's very different. Yeah. So for me, happiness is like that too. I believe that, for example, we've got life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. She's Canadian, so she doesn't have that.
No.
But I think that, like, it's interesting, right? Because when we think about that as Americans, like, the concept that you have the right to live is, well, I mean, my body's gonna do it anyway, so like, nice try, government, like, go ahead and kill me if you want to take that away. Thanks for giving me that freedom. But like, liberty, I have free will, like, I'm gonna make choices, and I mean, if you recognize that I'm gonna be alive and have choices anyway, then like, that's thanks.
Cool.
Right? But the pursuit of happiness is a really interesting way of saying that, because if you're trying to write a thing about what the government's supposed to do, and it's like it accepts that you have free will and it accepts that you're going to be alive, but it doesn't actually want to take responsibility for you being happy. It's like you have the right to pursue happiness. That leaves it up to debate what happiness is, right? It sort of suggests that there is a validity to the idea of the locus of control of your happiness being external. And people are like, wow, these brilliant people founded our country. So a lot of people sort of believe, like, in this subconscious way you've internalized in America, that happiness is a thing you pursue, it's not a thing you have. So the locus of control of your happiness is external. Yeah, so like people believe that they're allowed to be happy when they arrive somewhere, which I think is silly, because if you believe that you're allowed to be happy when you arrive somewhere, then you also believe, Felix is gonna knock this thing. If you believe you're allowed to be happy when you arrive somewhere, then you recognize that you're choosing when you can be happy. And if you're choosing when you can be happy, then your happiness is still a choice.
It's always just slightly out of reach.
Yeah.
If you've internalized that though, are you choosing?
Well, that's one of those things that's a semantic debate, right? Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I think if you've internalized something and you don't realize that you've internalized it, you're not making an active choice. You've accepted an idea that's been handed to you without examining it.
So your agency is missing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
I also just think about the movie The Pursuit of Happiness and the fact that he's happy the entire time, essentially. Like, he's just, I mean, he's not.
Okay, cool. I was like...
It's devastating. But also it teaches you that appreciation and gratitude, right?
Yeah.
I actually think that if you look at the way we tell stories, it very much reinforces that idea that happiness is a destination, because that whole time he was pursuing happiness. At the end he got there, but in the meantime he was just pursuing it. And that makes a great story arc. But,
Yeah.
Can I just say this is like a really interesting thing, because I think it circles back. You were talking about like thriving, right?
Yeah.
Like that maybe contentment isn't great.
Yeah, contentment is like stale.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
It's comfortable, yeah, and you need something more than comfort. This is a total tangent, but it's one of my favorite things. There's an architect who designs uncomfortable houses, and her whole thing is, if you are comfortable, your body doesn't have to work as hard, and you start to just kind of like veg. And people move into these houses and they're like, yeah, my floor is uneven and I'm like always on the lookout for things, but I've lost like 30 pounds, I sleep way better, and I've never been healthier in my life.
I love that.
Yeah, because you need a little bit of discomfort in your life.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
No, it's really cool, right? We should figure out who that person is and put their name up at the bottom.
Yeah.
Also, for The Pursuit of Happiness, if I edit a like slam effect of like Will Smith's face like popping in somewhere, I don't know.
It's devastating, but
I'm not that good at Premiere, guys, so.
That movie was devastating.
I will
but
just
also,
let you know
it
that
was
you.
so like happy,
Yeah.
right? Maybe it was just me.
No, it was a pretty happy movie. I was gonna say, the thing that Mary is saying though, I'm realizing that there's like this thing where it's like, it sounds like you can't do both, right? It sounds like you can't be content with your life and choose happiness and pursue things, right? I think that if your circumstances are, you've created circumstances for yourself where you are allowed to find new circumstances that will make you challenged and feel fulfillment in your life, then you're in a great spot. And I think that thriving actually can include that. It should include that. It should include, I think that there's a thing that people, so I like to say that I love people like unconditionally, because my love is out of time. Like, I will love you if you're getting better or worse at whatever, and better or worse for your own metrics. Like, you're like, well, I'm a junkie and I hate myself because I'm on drugs, and I'm like, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, not that you should be doing drugs and ruining yourself, but like, if this is part of your journey, I'm not going to judge you and try to make you feel bad. I'm going to try to support you in the fact that this is what's going on. I'm not saying that I'm going to like enable you, but like, if you're saying like to me like, nobody else, I feel ashamed of talking to anybody else, I don't want to make you feel like my love for you is gone and you should be ashamed that you can't talk to me, right? Like, that's garbage. So like, you are fine and perfect however you are, like, come to me. And I will.
using the word perfect there.
Perfect is in like, perfect is not a metric of like you. I believe perfection is a practice and perfection is dynamic. I believe that there is like static perfection, like a 3D object, like a cube, can be perfect in the shape, in the sense that everything that is the definition of a cube is what it is.
So you saying that you are perfect as in you are the definition that you are because that is what you are.
Like you.
Yeah, I am
Yeah.
the perfect me because I am the me.
Yeah, because
Therefore,
you're
I
the
am
me
that.
of you always in the
You
present.
are the me of you.
Sorry, you're the you.
No, you said it right. I think I screwed it up.
Oh, okay, yeah, no. I was gonna say, okay, so
But
if,
also, I wanted to
Yeah.
just because if you think about, I've always loved the word namaste. Like,
Yeah.
that is essentially loving every single being
mm-hmm,
exactly where they are for exactly what they are, right?
mm-hmm.
And is that the perfect that you're getting at?
Yeah. So, like, I was saying to somebody the other day, like, a three-dimensional object casts a two-dimensional shadow, right?
Yes.
And so if we have a perfect cube, it's casting its two-dimensional shadow, right? And it leaves weird shadows on the wall that don't look like cubes, but it's still a perfect cube, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if your brain is a fourth-dimensional thing because it exists in space and time, right? Then Felix is wandering around beneath the tripod. If your brain is if your consciousness is a four-dimensional thing, right? Because it exists in space and time, then your existence is like its three-dimensional shadow, right? Moving through the world. Like, your consciousness is always your consciousness, and it's always doing what it's doing, being your consciousness, but the way that it looks is sort of illusory, right?
And also people's perception of you
Yeah.
is like the two-dimensional shadow that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, you are you, but what others see you as is something else.
Yeah. So, like, you're always a cube, but people only see your shadow or they only see your sides, right?
Mhm.
And they don't recognize that you're a full cube, you're a full three-dimensional object, they're just perceiving you in two-dimensional ways.
Yes.
So, like, your consciousness to me is a four-dimensional object because, you know, if I ever met you in a place, I met you at a time, and if I met you at a time, I also met you at a place, otherwise we'd still be stuck wherever the hell we were in this not full dimension.
Well, you wouldn't be anywhere, right? Because
Or we wouldn't be anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? But, like, yeah, it's like I recognize the consciousness of you is you to whatever extent that my perception gets that. And that all of the illusions I see of you are just illusions, but I still accept you, the wholeness of your consciousness, whether it be a great part of it that I'm seeing that really speaks to me or part of it that completely baffles me and scares the crap out of me. You still good.
It kind of feeds into, I've been on this kick of the only choice that matters is the one that you make. Because people are always like, oh, I wish I had done this thing, but you can't undo the thing that you did. And
True.
you can't go back and do something else. So it has no bearing whatsoever.
And also, you obviously learned something from that experience, which is why you think that you shouldn't have done it.
So there's obviously value there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am so scared this is not recording because this has been a really cool conversation. So,
But also, are we talking about happiness or are we talking about being? Which, I mean, could be the same thing if you perceive it as happiness.
we went on a tangent because I was going to say that thriving is connected to that concept of like your contentment. So the pursuit of happiness, he arrives at his happiness, right? But then once you're there doing your thing, he probably came up with new things to pursue to make life interesting. I was going to say that your consciousness is always pursuing new things relative to where it is.
Which is thriving.
Yes.
Because you are happy, but you also can recognize that something else might add to that happiness.
Yes. And something else might detract from that happiness, or you might find yourself in a place where you do not feel the freedom or strength to pursue something new. You might feel trapped in the circumstances, and that's not good, right?
Yeah.
So even if you can find contentment to be wherever it is that you are, if you consciously recognize I am trapped where I am, or if you feel
You're
trapped
no
where you
longer
are,
content.
yeah, you might not be content anymore.
That's
So maybe-
surviving. At that
And
point.
that would be, yeah.
So thriving isn't being content or happy with your circumstances. It's having circumstances that allow you to explore things. I think is
Security.
security without limitations that make it constricting.
You know what I was going to say though? In terrible circumstances, externally, like somebody else is looking at your circumstances, it's terrible. If you, as a conscious individual, recognize you have the ability to make choices, regardless of what your circumstances are, you always have the ability to make choices, and you feel that ability to make choices, you still always have that freedom within your circumstances. So even if you can't go and like put yourself somewhere crazy and new, I think that that's like a level of like, we could call that contentment, I guess, right? I am content to be where I am regardless of where I am because I feel like my ability to respond is never being taken away from me.
So would you call that more of like a mental fortitude, where you're like, life is getting me down, but I know deep down that I am actually able to pursue things, so I am thriving.
Yes.
I immediately think about like a inmate who is extremely content despite the fact that he is in a prison that is designed to be essentially torturing him for something that he did, but he's technically, based on his own choice, allowed to be happy in that prison. So he's like secure. He can't technically leave, but
Yeah.
he can.
Don't get me started on prisons. I think there's an element of dehumanization.
There is.
That even if you are well fed and you have a social group and you feel more respected there than anywhere else, you're still
In
being
prison.
treated like not a person.
Yeah,
That's
I agree.
the whole system, which is messed up.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of feelings about this.
I completely agree.
I do not know enough about prisons, thank God, to have a really strong opinion based in facts that I know about prisons. So I'm not gonna try to like speak to prisons today. So I think we covered. Look at me being all like politically correct over here. I think-
Marissa is ready to go off.
Nice. Are you ready to go off?
I just
Next video.
Okay.
So I think we hit the what does happiness mean, I guess, right? We accidentally wandered through like a conversation about your fourth
think-
dimension consciousness, but I
I
think
think
we kind of hit
got to
what is
what
happiness.
thriving is, and thriving is
And
happiness.
what is thriving? Yeah, okay, cool. Thriving is what is thriving? Thriving is happiness through agency, regardless of circumstance. Ooh, I like
Yes.
that. I'm gonna
That's a
put
cool-
that as like a thing.
Yeah.
So then the next question was talking about or the thing. You guys are like, what's your own happiness? Like, do you guys have like?
I don't know if
Things
I have
that
a
are
like personal definition of what happiness
Yeah.
is.
Are you talking about like what things make us happy, or what?
Both, maybe. So, like, what is your definition of happiness, and then what things make you happy?
So I feel like we just crowdsourced this definition of happiness, and I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, I
But
like that.
I think also like you gotta recognize your nuances in happiness. Like for example, having clear counter space makes me happy,
Yes.
but only to a certain extent.
It brings
But
you
it's
joy.
also a very achievable happiness.
Yeah,
So even if I had like just gotten the worst news of my life, if I managed to clear a counter, I would be a little bit happier. But there's like a deep set, pervasive happiness of I feel safe and secure and able to pursue things, which is much more substantial than the clear counter, but much harder to activate.
Ooh, okay.
Interesting.
Do you have
That's on that.
how do you feel? Oh, I guess we could talk about that. I think that like for me, it's a weird situation where I definitely feel like my definition of happiness is really just that agency that exists regardless of my circumstances. But I find that really what happens is when I'm not happy, I go, hold on, what is the source of my unhappiness? Like whether I'm like feeling anxious or like, and I think of anxiousness as like fear out of time, where like I am afraid of something that is not presently a threat to me. Like I am afraid of something that does not exist in the present. So like a circumstance that might come, or a circumstance that might come as a result of decisions that I'm making currently. That causes anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't guarantee that my decisions that I'm making are going to lead to that outcome. So trying to protect myself from an outcome that I'm not certain is going to be the thing, like mentally stewing on that, is not helping me. I think that's like the source of my unhappiness, actually. So I find that I am generally happy, and then I find things that cause unhappiness when I am unduly giving them like space in my life. Like when I'm angry, I recognize anger as like a rejection of a circumstance. And so like I get angry about something because it gets in the way of my feeling like I'm in alignment with who I want to be, right? Yeah.
I think of happiness, and maybe I'm confusing happiness with the sense of joy, because joy is like a natural state, whereas happiness is something that I've understood as brought on by something else. But my natural state would be happiness or joy, and then if I'm not happy, it's because there's, like you're saying, there's something else getting in the way of that I need to, I guess, figure out how to readjust or change in my life. Whether it's something as simple as like not having a clear countertop. Like if that's impeding my center of happiness, then I should probably fix that.
Yeah.
And then also, isn't anger, I don't know who said that anger is simply emotions that were left too long without being acknowledged. So if you get angry, it's because you were sad first, and it's somehow progressed into anger because you neglected it.
So I have a really short temper. I've gotten much better at it, but the fuse is short there. So that doesn't really resonate with me because I'll be happy and then I'm angry because something happened. And so unless I need to deal with that like so much faster than like the 15 seconds that I got angry about it, that at least for me doesn't really.
Or perhaps there's something else
Like an underlying thing that
causes the immediate
it's like
response.
the horrible mental Goldberg.
So you're talking about emotions that are ignored as like.
I don't know if that's necessarily on the topic of happiness.
No, I was gonna say that it's really because that's on the topic of anger, and I think I'm gonna make an anger video later. But I was gonna say that I know that I'm gonna make an anger video later.
Anger is something I super don't understand.
So I was gonna say that when you say that anger is an ignored emotion, think about like public outrage at things where like this problem should have been solved centuries ago, decades ago,
exactly.
years ago. Why is this not solved? And we get so angry about things that like should be fixed. I think that like if you get angry about things, if you have a short temper, it might actually like I was thinking about this. Do you ever feel like perhaps the things that you're angry about, you're like should not be a problem. I have like previously rejected the circumstance, or society has taught me that I shouldn't. Society said I shouldn't be in this circumstance. So why the hell am I here on Thursday with this bus not showing up at 12:05 when it said it was supposed to because I pay my taxes and this is where the bus is supposed to show up?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Had one of those moments.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, like, not to say that like we should be angry all the time, but I was like, I guess the anger is just justified. It's like if you think about it, like anger is an emotion that's been left alone too long. You're like, wait, hold on.
Yeah, that's at least
Like,
for me because I don't get angry very easily. But if I get angry, it's something that I've mentioned, or like thought about multiple times, and nothing has been done about it. Either I haven't done anything about it, or somebody else has not acknowledged my need to do something about something.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, why am I not being listened to?
Yeah, no,
I guess
that's
the more I think
fascinating.
about it, the more that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess that makes a lot of sense.
So if you
Way to unpack anger.
Well, okay, so I imagine you have emotions, right?
Yeah.
And you have whatever I think of happiness as your like general emotion, and all the other emotions are drops in that, and they come and they go.
Yeah.
But for people who are always angry, because there are some people who exist in anger.
Yeah. Whoa, okay, so
Chills of like, I'm sorry to those people.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very rough.
I was gonna say, there's a concept called having maladaptive emotions, and if you have a maladaptive emotion, it means that you are experiencing an emotion that is not a baseline, like, I'm fine. Like, your homeostatic thought, like, patterns are not like, I'm going through the world, living in the world, this is the world. It's like, I am angry at the world, or the world makes me sad, or the world makes me, right? So it's like, I am disgusted with the world. And if you are walking around in a constant state of, like, a not, neutral operating point, then your mind has theoretically become psychologically addicted to the neurotransmitters that are responsible for the emotion that you're feeling, or it lacks a certain set of neurotransmitters and creates a situation where you experience something inordinately.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Oh, cool.
Like if you're set at a specific standard, it's because your brain has gotten used to that baseline, which you can then change if you recognize that you're stuck in that like system or whatever.
Yeah. So like I think that there are some people who, for example, are just like more attuned to their anger because they've spent so much time being angry that they're
cultivating.
Yeah, they're cultivating. They're like, why would I spend time not being angry? In the same way that some people fear happiness. You know, like some people are like, I'm afraid to be happy because I'm just going to be sad later. It's like,
wow.
Wait, hold on. So what you're telling me is that you're unwilling to experience your happiness that's here now because you will be sad later, potentially, because that's what you're looking to experience. Like, I don't mean to, like, knock anybody, because, like, I remember I was in high school and very depressed, and I would have these days of being like, I'm not getting out of my bed, and I would just not get out of my bed, and I was miserable. And I realized that, like, I don't know, I thought intelligent people were supposed to be sad, so, like, I would look for reasons to be sad if I was happy. Like, I was like, I'm an intelligent person, and intelligent people are never happy according to this axiom that I read once, so I'm going to never be happy. And I mean, I don't think that, like,
I've had that thought before, too, actually. Yeah. Like, if I'm smart enough to recognize what's wrong right now in my situation, then I shouldn't be happy, because otherwise I'm neglecting things that I should be adjusting. But also,
Yeah.
What a
happiness.
horrible way to live.
You know what I realized one day? One day I was like, wait, hold on. If smart people are never happy because they recognize reasons not to be happy, wouldn't the smartest person be able to recognize how you could be happy despite the fact that the sadness or the things that you shouldn't be happy about exists?
I guess.
Because I was like,
But then
wait,
that would
You know that
sort of negate
standard
the whole.
mind meme?
yes.
Being unhappy because there are things to be unhappy about. Being smart so that you're unhappy because you understand things. Being so smart that you were unhappy but you knew how to be happy.
Yeah, I was like, that's literally that's literally how I felt. I was like, wait, hold on.
There you go.
If I was really as smart as I think I am, then instead of being sad about how there are things to be sad about, I could be happy that I recognize that there are things to be sad about because now I can do something about it. So I was like, oh, that's very empowering. My awareness of unhappiness makes me capable of doing something to be happy now.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess I thought myself, it's, you know, most people think themselves into a,
It's a whole loop. You gotta
Yeah.
do the whole loop to get to the end result.
my friend Michael was like, George, you know how some people have trains of thought? I feel like you ride your trains of thought to the end of the line, and I feel like that's what I did with being unhappy as an intelligent person. I was like, well, hold on, if we just stop at intelligent people are unhappy, then like it's kind of like stopping at intelligent people don't have kids. I was like, well, if intelligence is supposed to be a good thing that makes you a, you know, like more successful as a human, then like if you're not reproducing and making smart people, if you've ever seen Idiocracy? I've never seen that movie, but it's about how smart people stopped having kids, so the world's population is dumber now because only dumb people had kids. I was like, if smart people were so smart, wouldn't they be sexually successful and therefore have more kids? Or like their kids should like
But
be
that
whatever.
is also attaching like the only way of being
Successful is
contributing
whatever.
to the world
Yeah.
is to have children. Like there's so many other ways that you could
Yeah,
contribute
yeah.
to the world.
Of course,
Yeah.
but I was like, when people give you these dogmatic sentences, like, or you know what I mean, like they're speaking in dogma. They're like, smart people are this, or smart people are that, or
Oh.
dumb people are this. I was like, wait, hold on.
Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
blah.
I was like, if you're so smart if you're smart enough to recognize things, shouldn't you be smart enough to figure out how to circumvent the thing that you don't want to deal with or you don't like?
It's like basically you're being counterintuitive. Like you saying that is counteracting what you're actually.
Yeah.
You saying it makes it not true. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that all makes sense, but yeah, I was just like,
Is that like what I said made sense?
I kind of lost track of who was who in that.
Okay, so if you
But I was just gonna nod.
if you say that smart people only do this or smart people only do that, then like isn't that counterintuitive? Because
Is that like one of those things where they were like, oh, you can tell if you have a good employee because they're not going to use Internet Explorer, they're going to install Chrome. And it's not because Chrome makes you a better employee, it's because you have enough initiatives to say, I'm not using this crappy browser, I will take the 10 seconds to install a different browser.
I don't know how that. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
Yeah, it relates. So like if you're like, oh, smart people are unhappy, I'm going to be unhappy so I can be smart. That's
it
not
made you
getting
smarter.
there.
It made you unhappy.
It's like
Yeah.
great. Okay, wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. Once again, having the ability to think for yourself is why you're smart. And having the ability to think for yourself might be why you're unhappy when others are happy. But thinking that because you're unhappy, you're smart, or that you need to be unhappy to be smart, is actually like not understanding cause and correlation. It would be one of the factors of recognizing you're not as smart as you think you are. You don't understand how cause and correlation. Yeah, correlation and causation.
True.
Yeah. Guys, I'm very pleased with this. I think we're probably like hitting the 30-minute mark, so I'm gonna like go
Maybe.
Go stop
yeah, it
that.
seems like it's been a while.
But like that was really cool. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you guys for watching. If you like this, please like the video. If you want to see more stuff like this, just being invited to my thoughts and conversations, please subscribe and check the comments. I will link not the comments, check the description. I'll link something cool in there so you guys can check that out. Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Bye.
One of my favorite things I've ever seen was this series of people confusing correlation for causation. And it's like, number of divorces in New Jersey in 2017. Gallons per ton of mayonnaise purchased in the United States, and they almost perfectly link up. And it's like divorce rates are not predicting mayonnaise consumption, or there's